First contact deception. The Arhadian survey vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its bioorganic hull absorbing the scattered starlight. Captain Nexara watched through her compound eyes as the unremarkable yellow star came into view, along with its complement of planets. Like most of the Arhadian collective, she possessed both technological and biological enhancements that made her far superior to primitive organic life forms. Analysis complete, Captain, announced Science Officer Viller, his neural tendrils pulsing with incoming data streams. Third planet shows signs of early industrial civilization. Primitive fission power, basic chemical propulsion, and an elementary satellite network. Assessment. Pre-spacefaring species, approximately Type 1 on the Kardashev scale. Nexara's mandibles clicked in disappointment. The Arhadian collective had hoped to find potential allies in their ongoing Cold War with the aggressive swarm consciousness. Instead, they'd found yet another primitive world barely worth cataloging. "How primitive are we talking about?" she asked, her crystalline exoskeleton shifting colors slightly to indicate her frustration. Their most advanced computers still use silicon processors. Their space presence is limited to their own orbital sphere and a small research station on their moon. They still rely heavily on fossil fuels, Villa reported with what passed for amusement among their species. Though curiously, they seem remarkably stable for their development stage. Any signs of the quantum signature we detected? Negative, Captain. The burst that drew our attention must have been an anomaly or natural phenomenon. We don't yet understand. The mysterious energy pulse that had brought them to this backwater system had matched no known technological signature in their vast databases. For a moment, it had seemed to suggest capabilities far beyond anything the Arhadians themselves possessed. "Take us in closer," Nexara ordered. "Standard stealth protocols. Let's observe these primitives before we decide whether to make contact." The survey vessel glided silently through the system, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to what they assumed were Earth's primitive sensors. They passed Mars, noting with mild interest the ruins of what appeared to be simple research outposts. Everything matched their expectations of a young civilization taking its first tentative steps into space. Everything, that is, until they reach Earth's moon. "Captain," Veller's voice carried an edge of alarm. Energy spike detected. A brilliant beam of coherent light lanced out from the moon's surface, striking the Arhadian vessel with surgical precision. Their supposedly impenetrable shields collapsed instantly. Impossible. Nexara's exoskeleton flashed warning colors. How did they even detect us? Before anyone could respond, a calm human voice filled their bridge, speaking perfect universal standard. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your stealth systems are impressive but obsolete by our standards. Power down and prepare to receive boarding parties. Any hostile action will result in immediate defensive measures." The bridge crew stared at their captain in stunned silence. Nexara's mind raced. Everything they knew about Earth suggested a primitive civilization, yet they'd just been effortlessly disabled by weapons technology that shouldn't exist for at least another 1,000 years of development. "Captain," Villa reported, his tendrils trembling, "I'm detecting extensive underground complexes beneath the lunar surface. Advanced power signatures, quantum computing arrays. This is impossible. They're satellites. They're primitive technology. It's all a facade." Another energy signature bloomed on their sensors, and a sleek vessel emerged from the moon's shadow. Its design was unlike anything in their database, somehow both ancient and impossibly advanced. "Final warning," the human voice stated. "Power down in 10 seconds, or we will be forced to demonstrate capabilities beyond the simple warning shot you just received." As Nexara gave the order to comply, she realized their mission had suddenly become far more interesting than anyone could have anticipated. They hadn't found primitive allies to protect from the swarm. They'd found something far more intriguing. A civilization that had deliberately hidden its true nature from the galaxy. The question was why, And as their ship was guided into a massive underground hangar that shouldn't possibly exist, Nexera had a feeling the answer would shake the very foundations of their understanding of galactic history and humanity's place in it. Looking out through the crystalline viewport, she saw something that made her enhanced heart skip a beat. Rows upon rows of ships, their designs spanning what looked like millions of years of technological evolution. And at the far end of the hangar, barely visible in the distance, stood what appeared to be a monument inscribed with words that would forever change her understanding of the universe. In memory of Earth's first fleet, launched 2.7 million years ago. May we never forget why we chose to hide. The Ancient Archive. Dr. Elena Martinez stood in the observation deck of Lunar Command, watching the crystalline Arhadian vessel being secured in Hangar Delta. After millennia of preparation, humanity's carefully maintained facade was finally beginning to crack. She adjusted her neural interface, not the primitive versions they showed to the galaxy, but true quantum-integrated consciousness enhancement that humans had perfected eons ago. "Their ship's quite beautiful," remarked Admiral Chen, his ancient eyes betraying wisdom that went far beyond his apparent 40 years. "Reminds me of the Centaurian designs from about 1,000,000 years back, but far less sophisticated," Elena noted, scanning the quantum readings. "They developed independently, without access to any precursor technology. Pure evolution, untainted by outside influence. That's rare these days." The Arhadian delegation was being escorted through decontamination, their biosigns showing a mixture of fear, awe, and overwhelming curiosity. Elena couldn't blame them. Everything they thought they knew about humanity had just been proven false. "How are they handling it?" Chen asked, though his own neural interface had undoubtedly already told him. "Better than most. Their species has a remarkable capacity for adapting to paradigm shifts. It's one of the reasons we've been watching them." The observation deck's quantum blast shifted, becoming transparent to reveal the true face of humanity's lunar installation. Not the primitive research station visible from Earth, but a sprawling metropolis extending deep beneath the lunar surface. Ancient machines hummed with power that made even the Arhadians' most advanced technology look like children's toys. "Director Wei is ready for them in the archive," Elena said. "She thinks it's time." Chen's expression grew serious. "After all these years, the Council has approved it. We've been watching the galaxy decay for too long. The patterns are repeating, just as they did before. We need allies who understand." The archive chamber was humanity's greatest secret, a repository of knowledge spanning millions of years of human civilization. Not the sanitized version taught in Earth's public schools, but the true history, humanity's rise to the stars, the golden age of exploration, the terrible discovery that changed everything, and the decision that shaped galactic history. Captain Nexera and her senior staff entered the chamber, their compound eyes widening at the sight of the crystalline memory matrices lining the walls. Elena could see them struggling to process the level of technology surrounding them. Technology that, by their understanding, should have been impossible. "Welcome to the archive," Elena said warmly. "I'm Dr. Elena Martinez, Chief Historian of Earth's Legacy Division. I believe you have questions." "You've been deceiving everyone," Nexera stated, her exoskeleton shifting through colors of confusion and indignation. "The primitive technology, the basic satellites, it's all fake." "A necessary deception," Chen replied. "One we've maintained for longer than your civilization has existed." Elena gestured to the center of the chamber, where a holographic display sprang to life, showing the galaxy as it appeared 5 million years ago. "Tell me, Captain Nexera, in your studies of galactic history, have you ever wondered why no civilization seems to be more than 50,000 years old?" The Arhadian captain's neural tendrils pulsed with recognition. The Great Silence, the period before which no records exist. Some theorize a catastrophic event. "Not no records," Elena corrected gently. "One record, one civilization that remembered, that watched, that waited. The hologram shifted, showing Earth as it had been 5 million years ago, a thriving hub of interstellar commerce, with massive structures orbiting the planet and ships of impossible design plying the spaces between stars. Impossible, Villar, the Arhadian science officer, whispered. This would mean humanity isn't a young species taking its first steps into space. Chen confirmed. We are what remains of the galaxy's first spacefaring civilization, the ones who reached for the stars before any others had mastered fire. The hologram changed again, showing a wave of destruction sweeping across the galaxy, ancient human colonies going dark one by one. Alina watched their visitors' reactions carefully as the truth began to dawn on them. We found something out there, she continued. Something that changed everything we thought we knew about the universe and our place in it. Something that forced us to make an impossible choice. Retreat into obscurity or face the extinction of all conscious life in the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Alina's neural interface flooded with data, and her heart sank. The patterns were repeating, just as they had countless times before. Multiple quantum ruptures detected at the system's edge, announced an AI voice that sounded older than time itself. Energy signatures match historical records of the Great Darkness. Chen's ancient eyes met Alina's. It seems, he said grimly, that the choice has been made for us. The cycle has begun again, and this time, humanity cannot stand aside and merely watch. Nexera's exoskeleton had paled to an almost translucent state. What's happening? What always happens, Alina replied, as ancient defense systems began powering up throughout the solar system. The very thing we've spent 5 million years preparing for. The reason we hid our true nature from the galaxy. The reason we watched and waited and guided from the shadows. The hologram showed a massive fleet emerging from quantum space, ships of a design that defied conventional physics, crewed by something that defied conventional understanding of life itself. The Great Darkness has returned, Chen announced. And now you know why humanity chose to remember, while the rest of the galaxy forgot. The coming storm. Deep within Lunar Command's Strategic Operations Center, holographic displays showed the approaching fleet of the Great Darkness, vessels that seemed to bend reality around them, their very presence causing quantum distortions in spacetime. Admiral Chen stood at the center of the command sphere, his neural interface processing centuries of tactical data in milliseconds. How many? Captain Nexera asked, her Arhadian sensory organs struggling to comprehend the readings from humanity's advanced sensors. 317 vessels in the first wave, Chen replied calmly, identical to their attack pattern from 5 million years ago. They never changed their tactics. That's both their greatest strength and their fatal flaw. Alina pulled up ancient battle footage, showing similar ships devastating human colonies across the galaxy. The Great Darkness isn't just an enemy, Captain. It's a fundamental force of the universe, one that seeks to eliminate what it perceives as quantum anomalies in space-time. Anomalies. Veller's scientific curiosity temporarily overcame his fear. Consciousness itself, Alina explained. Particularly civilizations that achieve quantum consciousness integration, what you might call true AI synthesis. Every time a species reaches that threshold, the Great Darkness appears to correct the anomaly. Throughout the command sphere, ancient systems awakened. Hidden installations across the solar system shed their primitive disguises, revealing weapons platforms and defense systems that had stood vigilant watch for millions of years. We discovered this truth during our golden age, Chen continued. We had spread across thousands of worlds, achieved what we thought was technological perfection. Then we detected the Great Darkness approaching from intergalactic space. We fought, and we lost. Badly. The holographic displays showed the desperate battles of the ancient past, humanity's mighty fleets reduced to atoms by weapons that ignored the conventional laws of physics. But you survived, Nexera observed. Because we did something no other civilization had ever done before, Alina said. We stepped back. We hid our true nature. We buried our advanced technology and pretended to be primitive. The great darkness passed us by, moving on to other targets. And you've been hiding ever since, watching other civilizations rise and fall. There was accusation in Nexera's tone. Not just watching, Chen corrected. Guiding. Protecting. Every time a civilization approaches the quantum consciousness threshold, we find ways to subtly direct their development away from it. We've orchestrated thousands of technological dead ends and mysterious failures over the millennia. Until now, Elena added, the patterns are changing. The Great Darkness is arriving earlier in civilization's development cycles. They're becoming more aggressive, more thorough in their extermination protocols. Warning signals flashed throughout the command sphere. The enemy fleet had crossed Jupiter's orbit, their impossible drives leaving tears in the fabric of space itself. We've spent 5 million years preparing, Chen said, his voice carrying the weight of eons. Developing technologies that operate on principles even the Great Darkness can't comprehend. Building defenses into the very structure of spacetime within our solar system. Creating weapons that don't just destroy, but fundamentally alter the quantum nature of their targets. Massive structures began emerging from beneath Mars' surface, not the primitive research stations visible to telescopes, but city-sized complexes that had been hidden for millions of years. Similar installations appeared throughout the asteroid belt, on Europa, Titan, and dozens of other locations. Your civilization, Elena turned to Nexera, and several others we've been watching, represents something new. You're developing along different paths than we did. Your quantum integration technologies work on principles we never discovered. Together, we might have a chance to do more than just hide or delay the inevitable. You want us to fight. Nexera's exoskeleton rippled with disbelief. Against that, she gestured at the approaching fleet. No, Chen smiled, looking far older than any human should. We want you to help us end this cycle once and for all. Humanity has spent 5 million years not just hiding, but understanding. We've finally grasped the true nature of the Great Darkness, and with your help, we might be able to communicate with it. The command sphere filled with new data as quantum sensors detected something unprecedented. The Great Darkness was altering its approach pattern. For the first time in recorded history, it was deviating from its standard tactics. They sense something's different, Elena whispered. They know we're not what we appear to be. Then perhaps, Nexera said, her scientist's curiosity overcoming her fear, it's time to show them exactly what humanity has become after 5 million years of preparation. The ancient defense platforms around Earth's moon powered up, their quantum fields reaching out to touch the very fabric of reality itself. Humanity's mask was about to come off, and the galaxy would never be the same. Legacy of the stars. The Great Darkness struck without warning or ultimatum. Reality itself seemed to tear apart as weapons beyond conventional physics lashed out at Earth's solar system. But humanity had spent 5 million years preparing for this moment. Quantum Defense Grid active, announced the ancient eye controlling Earth's defenses, where the enemy's reality-warping attacks should have annihilated everything in their path. They instead encountered something new. Structured quantum fields that didn't just block their attacks, but absorbed and redirected their energy. Admiral Chen stood motionless in the command sphere, his neural interface connecting him to every defense system humanity had built over the millennia. Begin Protocol Prometheus, he ordered quietly. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden installations revealed themselves. The primitive disguises fell away as structures large enough to dwarf cities emerged from beneath the surfaces of planets and moons. Each installation housed technology that had been refined and perfected for millions of years. Impossible, Valor whispered, his scientific tendrils writhing in confusion as he processed the sensor data. The energy readings, they're beyond anything we thought possible. Humanity's greatest advantage, Elena explained, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays, was time. 5 million years of uninterrupted technological development, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. We couldn't match the great darkness in raw power, so we learned to understand it instead. The first wave of the Dark Fleet encountered humanity's outer defenses. Their reality-warping weapons fired, and met something they had never encountered before. Rather than attempting to resist or deflect the attacks, humanity's quantum fields absorbed them, channeling their energy through a complex network that spanned the entire solar system. We discovered something fundamental about the Great Darkness, Chen said, his voice carrying an educator's patience despite the battle raging around them. They're not truly malevolent. They're more like an immune system for space-time itself, automatically attacking what they perceive as infections in the fabric of reality. Captain Nexara watched in amazement as human vessels finally revealed themselves, emerging from quantum storage fields where they had waited for millennia. Their designs were unlike anything she had ever seen, organic and mechanical at the same time, yet somehow more than either. Each time they attacked a civilization, Elena continued, we studied them, learned from them. We discovered that their quantum consciousness integration was actually far more advanced than anything we had achieved in our golden age. They weren't trying to destroy consciousness. They were trying to prevent it from developing along paths that would ultimately destroy the universe itself. The battle unfolded across the solar system, but it was unlike any conflict in galactic history. Human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they projected complex quantum fields that seemed to communicate with the Great Darkness on some fundamental level. Look, Viller pointed to the tactical displays. Their attack patterns, they're changing. The Dark Fleet had indeed broken from its standard tactics. For the first time in recorded history, they seemed to be responding to their opponent rather than simply overwhelming them with superior force. Now, Chen commanded, and humanity's true masterwork activated. Throughout the solar system, the quantum defense network shifted from absorption to transmission. 5 million years of accumulated knowledge and understanding poured through the network, carried on waves of quantum energy directly into the consciousness of the Great Darkness. We're not trying to fight them, Elena explained to their astonished visitors. We're showing them what we've become, what we learned, how we chose to develop consciousness along a path that works with the fundamental structure of space-time rather than against it. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Dark Fleet's attacks ceased. Their ships held position, their reality-warping fields pulsing with new patterns that human sensors interpreted as interest. They're receiving our transmission, Chen reported, his ancient eyes gleaming. 5 million years of preparation, and we're finally having our first real conversation with them. But why show them everything? Nexara asked. Why reveal all your defenses, your true capabilities? Because humanity's greatest discovery wasn't technological, Elena smiled. It was understanding that the only way to survive the Great Darkness was to become something they wouldn't want to destroy. We didn't just hide. We evolved. We developed consciousness that enhances the stability of space-time rather than threatening it. The command sphere filled with new data as the Great Darkness began responding. Not with weapons, but with quantum transmissions of their own, complex patterns of information that humanity's systems had been designed to interpret. They're sharing their own knowledge, Chen said with quiet awe. 5 million years of watching and waiting, and finally, he paused, processing the flood of incoming data. They're showing us why they do what they do, the threats they've prevented, the civilizations that nearly destroyed the fabric of reality itself. And your people? Valar asked. Will you rejoin the galaxy now that your secret is revealed? Elena and Chen exchanged glances. That depends, Elena said, on whether the younger races are ready to learn what we've learned, to develop along paths that strengthen the universe rather than threaten it, to become not just users of technology, but guardians of reality itself. Above them, the Great Darkness continued its quantum dialogue with humanity's ancient systems. The future of consciousness in the galaxy hung in the balance, as humanity prepared to share 5 million years of accumulated wisdom with civilizations that had never known the true nature of their universe. The real challenge was just beginning. Guardians of Tomorrow. 1 year after first contact with the Great Darkness, Earth's lunar complex hosted representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations. The massive conference chamber, hidden beneath the moon's surface for millions of years, hummed with conversations in countless languages as species that once thought themselves advanced struggled to comprehend their new reality. Admiral Chen stood at the center of the chamber, his neural interface projecting a real-time simulation of quantum consciousness patterns throughout local space. Where once the Great Darkness had appeared as a threatening void, it now manifested as an intricate network of quantum fields that helped maintain the stability of space-time itself. The transition hasn't been easy, Elena remarked to Captain Nexara, who had become humanity's primary liaison to the Arhadian collective. Some civilizations are still struggling to accept that their entire approach to technological development needs to change. Nexara's exoskeleton shifted through thoughtful colors. Can you blame them? Everything they believed about progress, about consciousness evolution, about humanity, it's all been upended, just as it was for us. 5 million years ago, Chen joined them, his ancient eyes scanning the assembled representatives. But we've learned that consciousness can evolve in many ways. The path we chose, the path of quantum harmony rather than quantum disruption, is just one possibility. The holographic displays showed the Great Darkness vessels, now permanently stationed throughout the galaxy, working in concert with human monitoring systems. They were no longer enemies but partners in maintaining the delicate balance of reality itself. The hardest part for many to accept, Elena observed, is that technological advancement isn't always progress. Some of these civilizations had developed weapons that could destroy stars, but their fundamental understanding of consciousness was taking them down a path that would have eventually torn reality apart. Like the precursors did. Nexara asked, "The ones you finally told us about?" Chen nodded gravely. "The civilization that came before us. The ones who nearly destroyed everything in their quest for absolute power over the quantum realm. The Great Darkness stopped them, but the damage they caused took millions of years to heal. That's why the darkness became so aggressive in preventing other civilizations from following the same path." Throughout the chamber, representatives from various species were engaged in passionate discussions about the new paths forward. Some, like the Arhadians, had already begun adapting their technology to work in harmony with space-time. Others were still resistant, clinging to their traditional approaches to consciousness evolution. "There will always be those who choose the destructive path," Elena said, watching a group of delegates argue over access to humanity's ancient knowledge. "That's why we can't simply hand over everything we've learned. Each civilization needs to discover its own way to work with the quantum nature of reality rather than against it." A signal chimed through the quantum network. The Great Darkness had detected another civilization approaching the consciousness threshold. But this time, instead of responding with destruction, they sent the coordinates to humanity. "That's the real change," Chen smiled. "We're no longer hiding, no longer just watching. We can actively help guide younger civilizations away from paths that would lead to their destruction." "And if they refuse guidance?" Nexara asked. "Then we remember why we hid for so long," Elena replied. "Why we spent millions of years developing technologies that could contain and redirect rather than destroy. The Great Darkness is no longer alone in its role as guardian of reality." The conference chamber's quantum fields rippled as a new transmission came through, complex patterns of information from the Great Darkness itself. The assembled representatives fell silent, still awed by direct communication with what they had once thought of as an unstoppable enemy. "They're sharing something new," Chen announced, his neural interface processing the transmission. "Knowledge about quantum consciousness patterns we hadn't yet discovered. They're teaching us." After 5 million years, Elena marveled. Humanity is still learning, still evolving, still finding new ways to understand the universe and our place in it. Nexara's scientific tendrils pulsed with excitement as she processed the new data. "It's beautiful," she said. The patterns, the symmetry, consciousness itself is part of what maintains the stability of space-time. We weren't threatening reality by achieving consciousness. We were threatening it by achieving it in the wrong way. Above them, through the quantum-enhanced viewing field, Earth was visible, still maintaining its primitive disguise to the casual observer, but now serving as the center of a new age of galactic cooperation. Humanity had emerged from hiding not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers, guides, and guardians. The real work is just beginning, Chen said, watching the representatives of younger races begin to grasp the true nature of consciousness and reality. But for the first time in 5 million years, we're not doing it alone. The Great Darkness pulsed in agreement, its quantum fields harmonizing with human technology in ways that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. The cycle of destruction had finally been broken, replaced by something new. A partnership between the universe's first consciousness and its oldest guardians, working together to ensure that life throughout the galaxy could evolve without threatening the very fabric of reality itself. Humanity's long vigil was over. The age of guidance had begun.